Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman and Ranking Member and all of my colleagues. I know you've had a very long night, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our important concerns. I'm going to talk to you about the state and local tax deduction, also known as SALT. Under the current law, the SALT deduction has been capped at $10,000. And under the existing reconciliation bill, it's been raised to $30,000. We haven't seen the manager's amendment yet. We're talking about all the different negotiations that are going on. But we believe that's very inadequate, or I believe it's very inadequate. And in fact, 6 of my Republican colleagues have come out and said it's insulting to only raise it to $30,000. And they said they will not vote for this bill at that level. So I know there's a lot of negotiations going on. But I want everybody to understand the basics of the state and local tax deduction. Before 1913, the only time we had an income tax was during the Civil War. Lincoln had put it in place, was declared unconstitutional. That was changed in 1913. We said we're going to create a federal income tax. And the governors and the mayors of the different states and cities throughout the country said, we don't want a federal income tax because we have to take care of our schools, and we have to pay our police officers, and we have to pick up the garbage and take care of the roads, and we need to tax at the local level. And we want the federal government to continue to raise your revenues from tariffs and from customs and things like that. And the federal government said, no, don't worry about it. We're going to create a state and local tax deduction so that you will not be taxed at the federal level on the taxes you've already paid at the state and local level. And that was a covenant between the states and the federal government for over 100 years until 2017, when the majority party at the time, the same majority party as now, and the president put a cap on the state and local tax deduction at $10,000. Now that really was a body blow to a lot of different states, not just my state of New York, but also other states like New Jersey and California and Connecticut and Illinois and Massachusetts and Maryland and Michigan and Minnesota and Oregon and Pennsylvania and Virginia and Hawaii. These states were hurt dramatically because when we set up our government in the United States of America, we wanted our states and cities to be laboratories of democracy where they could experiment with what's the best way to run their governments. And then the federal government would not tax people on an expense that they were mandated to pay at the local level. So our taxes are higher in New York State, for example, and some other high tax states, because we've decided we want to insure our children. We have the lowest rate of uninsured children in the United States of America in New York State. We have the lowest rate of uninsured adults. We have subways and mass transit. We pay our teachers and our firefighters and our police officers good wages and give them good benefits. And that experiment worked. In fact, we've been a very productive state, so much so that we've contributed much more to the federal government in federal income taxes than we actually get back in services from the federal government. We are net donors to the federal government. In fact, most of the states hardest hit by the state and local tax deduction cap are donors to the federal government, where most of the states not affected that have low taxes are net takers from the federal government, with the exception of Texas. So it's just patently unfair that we broke this covenant, this idea of federalism, with a long arm of the federal government reached into our local municipalities and said, we don't like the way you're taxing your people. We don't like what you're doing. We don't think you should pay your teachers. We don't think you should pay your police officers. We don't think you should pay your firefighters. We don't think that you should insure your children. In fact, the highest rate of uninsured children in the country are in Florida and Texas, low tax states. They chose not to do that. Now, right now, they're booming. And we're in trouble in some of our higher tax states. People are leaving our states and going to these other states. And you know what happens when people leave our states and go to the lower tax states? The people that are left behind, the middle class and the lower income people, are left holding the bag. And their taxes are either going to go up or their services are going to be cut, and neither one of those is acceptable. So as a matter of basic fairness, I'm asking that this amendment be adopted by the Rules Committee that increases the state and local tax deduction cap to $80,000. Nobody wants to pay the full restoration. I understand that. As a compromise, I'm suggesting that we increase the state and local deduction cap to $80,000. And let's pay for that. Let's not add to the deficit as this current bill does, which is creating some of the biggest deficits in the history of the United States of America. Let's pay for it by raising the top rate for the highest income earners in America from 37 back to 39.6. It's only fair. It's only fair that these donor states that take care of their residents, that do the best job that they can in their laboratory of democracy, are not penalized for doing what they see as being the right thing to do. That was a covenant between the federal government and the states and local governments for over 100 years. With that, I yield back, and I thank you for your time and attention.